Peace, my brother. Let me know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
Cool.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, man.
Good.
I'm just lighting some candles real quick.
Cool. Do what you gotta do.
Alrighty. And since you're on, the recording has already begun with
That's
Zoom,
fine.
so we can just hop right on in if you want.
That's fine.
All right, cool. So basically, what we're doing is we're doing a episode of a series that I'm doing called Mindful Morning, where essentially I'll talk to people about spirituality, the way spirituality can benefit us in these trying times. I think a lot of people are looking for answers, and when I see somebody that I think is interesting, or somebody who might have an interesting perspective on spirituality, I say let's have a conversation. And Heal and Reveal, I want to say thank you very much for deciding to have a conversation with me. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because I grew up strict Christian background, studied Islam. So a big part of my spiritual development was control. It was all about trying to control urges, control your thoughts, be disciplined. Whereas with you, the thing I find interesting about you is the fact that with you, it all comes together. You know what I mean? You combine very deep, profound insights, dirty jokes, pornographic references. It's all in the mix. So I kind of want to talk to you about your spiritual idea and your spiritual concepts, and break that down a little bit. I wanted to start off by asking a question about: do you feel that people's concepts of spirituality are too repressive when it comes to sex?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and why do you feel that way?
I think while you are here, you know me, I always talk about things in the sense of the illusion of separation.
Mm-hmm.
While you are here, manifested in this illusion of separation, any part of denial, it just starts to negate the whole experience. So if I have the ability to be a physical being on a sexual level, then the whole problem is the indulgence and the responsibility of that energy.
Okay.
I should not go into points of denial. I should just become more responsible about when I engage. And for different people, that's going to look like different things.
Gotcha.
Over the few years, one of the things I came to realize is that, I already knew it, but in getting deeper within myself is that, yes, sex is my indulgence. Sex is my issue. So in learning that, okay, yeah, I can have it whenever I pretty much want it. Do I have to have it? And what am I deflecting from within myself that I'm getting such a high from sex? And when I challenge myself into saying, okay, yeah, I like it, but yeah, I am hiding from some of my traumas. Maybe there is some self-intimacy issues and things like that. Once I start facing those and making it more about me than trying to find a partner or multiple partners, then the whole dynamic changed. Then it was like, okay, it's okay for me to have sex, just like it's okay for me not to have sex. But if I want to have sex, I'm gonna have sex, and I have sex.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, let me ask this. Do you ask this question? Do you feel that we live in a culture that's hypersexualized?
Yes, and it's not just on the sense of over engagement. Like you see everything, you hear me talk about all the time. Everything on TikTok, everything on IG is, I hope this ain't going out of bounds, ass and titty.
Yeah, no.
Everything.
Let it all out.
Let it all out. Okay, good. Everything on IG is hypersexualized to where even when you're trying to get a message across, hi, I would like to advertise Starbucks, but there's a titty sitting right here. What the hell? So it's like we use it as a way to engage, but also as a way to control. The
Okay.
people who let's just say, for example, like the government, they will always complain about things being hypersexualized, but when it comes time to market and constrain it, they ain't got nothing. They ain't got nothing. It's all bark with no bite.
Gotcha.
So and coming into, like, say, organized spirituality systems such as anything outside of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism and all that stuff, getting into your more organized spirituality, hoodoo, voodoo, voodoo, conjure, Ifa, all that stuff, sex is already included, because especially even looking at the Wiccan route, people include sex magic as ways to perform homage or gain power. So they include everything this sex. And again, like I'm saying, when you're on beginner level, I think that's fine. if you're going to use that as a modicum of gain, as long as you know what you're doing, and even when you don't, go for it.
Right.
But when you start learning that sexual energy is a manifestation from within me and not something I'm bringing in through the act, again, the game changes. The whole point of externalization that the average mind cannot disengage from is the problem for me. That's why shit's hyper right now, is everybody's looking to gain externally instead of realizing what I'm manifesting from within.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I wanted to begin with, I wanted to ask you about like where you began. Like, did you begin in an organized religion and grow out of it, or tell us a little bit about your personal journey?
I grew up Christian Baptist, more on the Baptist side of it, but it never sat well with me. It was like, even, you know, as say 7, 8 years old, where get your ass up on Sunday and go to church. It was out of duty to my mother because that's what she wanted, but it was not something I was like, oh Lord, let me go to church. It's never been that. I've never had that energy.
Right.
I've always had battles with God, so to speak. I remember one time I was like 7 years old and I was mad. My father died when I was 3. So, you know, I had this little, you know, hidden anger about why'd you take my dad from me?
Right.
So I remember one time I was mad at something else that went on. And I grew up in the 70s. So, you know, it used to be the saying, like, whenever you pick up something, it'd be like, stomp to the devil and kiss to God.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad. So I said, stomp to God and kiss to the devil. And I remember they was like, oh, Lord, no, don't you do that. Don't you, oh, Lord, rebuke you and all this other stuff. And it was like, ain't nobody said nothing or did nothing anyway. The only people running around here crying about what I said or did was the people who believe in that shit. And look at the world today. The only people defending gods and goddesses, to be fair, in any pantheon, is the people who believe in them. The deities themselves never truly speak up. Because, again, it's all, from my perspective and experience, it's all manifestations of self. And you'll see me post it. I always talk about Sky Daddy all the time. If Sky Daddy's offended by my post, let him come and say something. If he is of deity level energy, he don't need you to defend him.
Right.
But the human psyche that needs to believe in something always finds something to worship. So I started out with Baptist, and all that other stuff. But by the time I got to teenager, it wasn't that I was wanting to be atheist. I always knew there was something there. Saw spirits, could hear voices in my head. So it was like, no, there's something more than what I'm being taught. And I grew up in Alabama. So the part of Alabama I grew up in, they didn't even want you to know about your ancestors.
Oh, wow.
So the only thing I knew was we came from slaves and Christianity is what we got brought up in.
Right.
I knew about, Islam. It wasn't really a big thing, but, you always saw back in the 70s with Black melanated people, whenever they left Christianity, almost always went directly over to Islam.
Right.
It's like you left one enslaved religion to go to another enslaved religion.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to anybody who believe in it, do what works for you.
Right.
But instead of us trying to say, well, let me get back to my roots of what was there before my captivity, we always just trying to find the next less oppressive system. So I never went that route. I just sat back and watched. Right. As I became an adult, I started trying to unravel Christianity by going into the apocryphal works and like the Dead Sea Scrolls, just major research. I had read the whole Bible by the time I was 19. Thought I understood it, but even to today, I'll say, no, I didn't understand it. I understood it from my level of experience. It's an expansive book. Mm-hmm. I spent time, I went in the army, so I spent time over in Saudi Arabia. I used to go to the Islamic military bases and have nightly meetings with Muslims, and we would have friendly discussions. Me, I guess, somewhat supporting Christianity, them supporting Islam, and then one of my close friends that was a Jesuit priest. So we were just having battles of perspective and why our way was better than the other way. And even still, feeling like what they had was more oppressive than what I was trying to run away from. At that point, it was safer to stay co-aligned with Baptists because, again, like I said, we weren't allowed exposure to our ancestors, so I knew nothing about all those other systems other than the demonizations of don't eat people's spaghetti because that's black magic and all that other stuff. So, it was taught to me as a fear. But as I became like in the late 30s, early 40s, I start having, I guess, let's say, more metaphysical, paranormal life events.
Right.
And it was like you can't run from it at that point. And it was like encounters with different levels of entities and energies and things like that. And it's like, sorry, everybody is saying that they having, conversations with Jesus and conversations with God, but that's not what's showing up here.
Right.
And no, I'm having conversations with, quote unquote demons that are haunting me. These are intelligences that are coming and actually giving me information that I can research and verify, or teaching me things about myself that I can now apply. And my thing, which gets into where I'm at now, in becoming exposed to everything, that's when I realized I'm a contrarian. I'm a Heyoka. We don't follow any path. We believe in nothing because we believe in everything.
Gotcha.
You have to show me what's real before I will give it credence for being fake. So in coming into that level of exposure, it was like, okay, I don't give a shit what anybody else's fear is. If something comes and give me information that checks out, why would I demonize it?
Gotcha.
So, and so coming into that level of experience, working in the occult at that point, I came into conjure. I don't want to classify it as exactly hoodoo or voodoo. I just start working with roots and herbs and stones and things like that. That gave me another level of exposure. So then I went into ceremonial magic and chaos magic. That gave me ultimate exposure because it was like, okay, you tampering with shit that you probably shouldn't be tampering with. But in learning to tamper with that, my exposure to personal experiences, I don't know what you would want to call them, but finding deeper meaning within myself. That kind of led me into, what, everything's plausible, but none of it's necessary. So like when you asked me earlier, what's my spiritual system? I make space for all of them because all of them are just points of experience based off of your perspective.
Gotcha.
If you are looking for something Christian related, apply yourself to Christianity. If you're looking for something voodoo related, apply yourself to voodoo. You understand what I'm saying? So it was, I don't apply myself to anything. I went into watcher mode at that point. In my time with ceremonial magic, a lot of that time was spent working with energies that identify themselves as angels. And whether they were authentic angels or not, those are some very expansive energies that will teach you some shit about yourself. And they taught me some shit about myself to where I learned to disengage from the need to believe in any set system and the point of awareness of sitting back and watch and see what's really there. And so, I mean, that's kind of like where I'm currently at. I just sit back and watch. But again, as a Heyoka, I serve as a mirror to show you that you don't have to believe what you're seeing. You have to make a decision of how it's going to benefit you and not you keep benefiting it.
Right.
One of the things you always hear me say is everything in this universe has an agenda. And it really is. There's a point of usury, even to the point to where what is using you is only trying to get you to use yourself. Become more for yourself so that you raise this alleged vibration that we exist in and not just creating more chaotic energy.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask this question because you mentioned like having encounters with entities. Was this something that began when you were young? Because I remember looking back on my childhood, I've had some what somebody might call transcendental or paranormal experiences that I haven't really talked to anybody about it. And I think that's one of those things that people might have a difficult time discussing. But was this something that began when you were a child? And can you give us a little bit of insight of when the first experiences, the first paranormal, preternatural experiences you may have had?
The first one that sticks out in my mind was probably age 12 to age 13 and a half, almost 14, the same dream every night.
Okay.
The same dream every night of being captured by this energy that had me and my siblings basically caught in an energy bubble to where you couldn't move. And it was like every night at the same time, the same experience. And, at that age, didn't have any correlation points. So, this was just a bad dream. But from my metaphysical standpoint of experience now, you don't have the same dream for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I know better now. And then another experience would have been at 13 when I was in the kitchen and my great grandmother materialized behind me. She had already passed a couple of years. It was not just, I heard her voice or I smelled her. This was like, no, I turned around. She was standing there.
Right.
So,
Right. Wow. So what was
yeah.
your reaction when you saw your great grandmother standing there? How did you respond?
uh,
That had to be a kind of a
it,
scary
it, it,
experience.
yeah, it shook the shit out of me because again, mom was Christian Baptist, so she was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Great grandma was standing right here." So of course it's that. Oh well, you just thought you saw something. They don't want to talk about that. Don't you do that, baby? No. So it was just shooed off.
Gotcha.
Um, and again, like I said, there was nobody that I knew that was even, Islam or anything like that that I thought I could talk to that would have a different understanding than no, Jesus rebukes this, so it was like just shut up and keep going on. Throughout high school, I had this thing going on to where I would always finish everybody's sentences because I was starting to tap into everybody's thought, the collective chord. I could hear people's thoughts, but it was a novelty trick to me because it was like, it was fun. And people would come and test me all the time, especially my sophomore, junior, senior year. It was like one of the things I kind of became known for. But I didn't have any, real knowledge of psychics and mediums and channels and all that other stuff. Again, in Alabama where I grew up, it was isolation. You either Christian or you Christian.
Right. Yeah, it was like that for me too.
Yeah, we ain't trying to hit nothing about no atheists. And I mean, like I said, I've never wanted to be atheist, although a lot of people nowadays think I'm an atheist. No, I just have had experience with a lot of different energies, and not everything that you think they are is what they are. So
Gotcha. So you were having these experiences. Do you think that these experiences are universal, or do you think that there are certain individuals who are singled out by the spirit world?
a little bit of both. It's receptivity. Everybody has the component to be a psychic or to express gifts. It's not that bullshit. Well, I was born on a veil, or my mama's mama did this. No, those are higher points of exposure to where, hey, that genealogy has already shown that light to be available.
Right.
But everybody's light is under suppression in this realm. If you seek to release from the suppression, then those parts of you that want to be free will come and join you. But when I say those parts of you that seek to be free come to join you, that's the common thing that people say when you start having, and even I say it, when you start having visitations and things like that. It's not external. That to me is one of the tricks of this realm, is that you're having an external experience. No, you're having an internal experience. You just don't want to take internal responsibility. So it's quicker to respond to what you think is and perceive to be going on around
you. Why do you think it is that there are so many people who are raised in religion? They're told Jesus Christ died, came back from the dead. They read stories in the Bible about ghosts or angels or demons. And then when someone like yourself has an experience where you saw your grandmother in the kitchen and they kind of just brush it off. Even in my personal experience, I have family who is Christian. And then when they have these experiences where they feel like someone from the other side is communicating, it's usually written off as just my
you crazy.
imagination. But your whole life you've been dedicated to the idea that this is real. Like all this is real.
It's ignorance, because anybody, and it's getting harder to find it. Matter of fact, I was trying to find that old research. Remember, I told you I started doing a lot of apocryphal work and breaking down the whole Christian. There used to be a website I used to use back around 2012, and it broke down, and it was authentic. It broke down the lineage of every Christian king after Constantinople. The majority of them were pagan in nature. They just used the Christian throne to further their agenda under the guise of Christianity.
Okay.
There were a lot of diviners, there were a lot of psychics, there were a lot of tarot readers, there were a lot of people who worshiped the Oracle, Delphi, and all this other stuff. But when they saw the hottest ticket going, Christianity, as a way to control others, they stepped into that seat itself. They were politicians. Hey, I want a piece of the pie too. So in stepping into those seats, they were sanctioning the other zealots as to, hey, go kill off this 500 people here who believe in Zeus. Now my competition reduced. So through fear, oppression, and suppression, it became the programmed mindset of anything outside of what's accepted is already taboo. So in the old days, it used to get you killed. You can get killed for getting caught with cards. You can get killed for speaking in tongues. And this was because some of the people who had those abilities said, I don't want anybody else to do it. It wasn't that Jesus said that you didn't do it. It was written into the scriptures by those, 45 different authors of the New Testament?
Yep.
It was written into there by the multiple authors of this is what we need to control the people. He who writes the books rules the world. And people are sorry, you know how I am. People are ate the fuck up by believing something that can clearly be proven to not be 100% accuracy in its timeline of being written, but because your need to have a savior, you won't save yourself. They could come out with a new book that they found yesterday and throw that into that book, that Bible, and everybody else will just fall right in line instead of using their mental faculties and saying 1 + 1 didn't make 2 in this case.
Right.
So the common process of free thinking, trust you not in your own understanding, that's a real thing.
True.
The average mind can't trust in what they understand. Let me turn to page 496 and see what I saw.
Gotcha.
The greatest Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. Switching gears really quickly. One thing that has been concerning me, and I try to counter it in small ways, whatever way I can, but it seems like it's becoming a big tsunami that can't be stopped, is the gender warring. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on YouTube that just popping up in my feed where it's like maybe a black man saying a black woman is the worst. And then over here it's like, niggas ain't shit. And it's just all day with the gender warring between black people.
Jim Crow 2.0.
What's it called?
Jim Crow 2.0.
Yeah, you're right. What's causing this conflict between black men and black women, or the seeming conflict? Because maybe I'm mistaken, maybe it's just social media, but what's creating this seeming conflict, and what can we do in our way to use our spirituality to kind of bring balance back?
My thing is that you have to start honoring what spirituality really is outside of what we've been shown. A lot of our spiritual formats are still Eurocentric in nature. They're still either steeped off of the need to have one being over all others. Okay. It's not. I mean, even when you say like with the Comedics, when you go to the Neteru and all this other stuff, and it was supposed to be nature spirits, then they'll develop a hierarchy of how one is over the rest of them. This one got that responsibility, and that got that responsibility. Not how they are all you learning to put yourself together. Mm-hmm. So it's still separatism and divisionism, and within divisionism of the mind, you can create anything. It is a benefit for those who are already running this realm to keep you at each other's throat. It's the same thing like we're saying, black and white. It's a yearly thing that whenever they see that the masses are starting to learn to play together, we need an act of separation. Only, and a lot of people might get offended by this melanated thing right here is highly receptive and retentive of energy to the point of stupidity. We don't know how to let go, which is why, again, no offense to anybody, it's why we can't let go of Christianity and Islam and other things like that. We clearly know that those were formats we were taught and not what we knew, but we make excuses for why we have to have them. It's like there is a already taint and trauma within yourself to know your true identity, so it becomes safe to find out who you are in your captivity. And the people that run the system know that. They know that because your eugenic systems from the 50s and 60s that basically had the projects. The project was from the NIM facility, the National Institute of Mental Health, Universe 25. Look that up. You've seen me post about it before.
Yeah, I did.
The rat universe.
I seen that.
It was. Here is an example of how you can keep a people divided. But the thing that people don't realize is that a people divided will fight to keep their division to where those that divided them are already free. Their hands are clean. All they got to do is keep poking us where we won't hold ourselves together. There's already a natural mistrust of the black man and the black woman as a result of eugenics in Universe 25 type projects. Mm-hmm. We got taken from each other and got put against each other to where if you try to work together to flourish, we won't support you. And that was the whole problem with that segregation and desegregation is now you think that you need the oppressor's assistance to stop the oppression when that's clearly stupidity.
Right.
But you can't tell people that. So when we already developed that mindset that you have to have their input on how to learn to be you, their input is already going to be of more value. So there are agitators, and it's not always people that wear the same meat suit. It could just be one little typed document from an anonymous figure, and we're gonna bite into it.
Yeah.
We worry about the dumbest shit within our community. Like right now, right before I got on here, somebody was saying something about Madonna did something and black people were in an uproar. I don't know because I don't really care about that stuff, but it's like, holy shit, y'all are missing the bigger picture. They doing more and more stuff to oppress us on the daily on all levels. And it's not just the black oppression. The system of greed is oppressing the average human in the planet, but we're worrying about what Kanye's saying and what Madonna doing and what Nicki Minaj and Lotto and everybody else doing. We are the Roman Colosseum. So that gender war, it's the Roman Colosseum on all levels. How can it be fixed within us? The individual has to learn to fix itself and start taking responsibility for, again, what you're giving your energy to. The biggest thing in this realm, and you always hear me say that this realm is a contrarian reflection, it's not a lie. Everything that you do is neither lie nor truth. It's just your perspective. And if your perspective is only bent on getting your ego stroked, you fucked. Right. And the average human just want their ego stroked.
Right.
So the black man ain't gonna never say, you know what, I own what I did and I apologize and I can't change it. Only thing I can do is be a better me and give you the space to be a better you. Not you did this to me, so this fake ass divine feminine energy out here.
Right. And that's one of the things that I definitely agree with that. I call it, you're talking about how like the universe is a reflection. I call it mirror theory, where like everything that's happening around us is a reflection of what's going on within us, and we're basically just multiplying it and it's this multifaceted surface of all these dimensions. We're basically creating our reality that way, and it's kind of sad that the internal pain is magnifying on the outside in such a big way. And healing the individual is definitely a way of healing the collective. But we all got to do our part to heal ourselves and hold ourselves accountable.
But the problem, what you just said, for and I call it what it is, for lower level energy signature, which you hear me call a weak wheel, is that if you said that it's a reflection and fragmentation of what's going on within, that's where they get lost. Now, what's going on outside of them becomes the greater thing. It's what you hear me say, as honoring myself as a source being, which is my only real thought line right now. Everything starts with me. Everything is the results of my choice. So that means I have all the power, I have all the energy until I allow something else to drain me. Whereas the average human is everything around here draining me. How can I get my power back?
Right.
Stop plugging in. Stop plugging in, and then you never lost your power in the first place. But that becomes hard. That becomes trauma bonding, trauma nurturing, triggering, and oversubscription to your thoughts. And that requires release from programming. And it's hard to tell somebody when they've been programmed when they love their pain.
That's true. That's deep. That's real deep. A lot of people fall in love with the dysfunctional traumatic behavior. It becomes who they are. I mean, I noticed, I said a bunch of times how when people are traumatized, they form an identity around the wound. They form their whole identity, their whole philosophy based upon their trauma. So a lot of individuals can't let go of the trauma because you have a whole philosophy and a whole identity and holding the trauma in place.
What you hear me say all the time about knowledge gets you fucked up. When I know my pain more than I am aware of my peace, pain already won. Pain already won. We are a dimensionally programmed. You can't even just call it the planet. Within this perception of the spiritual experience, from my perspective and my experience and the things that I deal with, my experience has shown me that everything in manifestation carries a core trauma of what you said a minute ago, identity. And when I identify with this is me, and it's now my free will to go through what I want to, I've already honored my separation. But when I turn that around and say, holy shit, this is me, this is my experience, this is my energy, before I do or give my energy to anything else, I better know the fucking consequences. I better know what karma is going to get created instead of waiting on karma to come find me. I need to know whether this is going to be a bad investment of ignorance through expectations, or if this is going to show me my favorite word, reciprocity. People don't reciprocity. People just want to fucking move. And if you don't know where you're going, somebody's going to lead you. Hi, planet Earth. Somebody gonna lead you if you're not ready to take responsibility for not moving at all. It's a big ass chess game. The chess game thoughts.
Gotcha, man. That's crazy. Do you feel that a lot of the issues that we're having when it comes to releasing trauma, could be because there's so many centuries of pain in us in our DNA? Do you feel like our ancestors need to be healed as well as us, and that's why it's so hard for us to heal?
No,
No.
I don't think that they need to be healed because they are their own separate energy within this collective consciousness. Look at it this way: we're one human body made of a bunch of cells. Even though those cells are separated within that human body, it's still just one body.
Right.
Me as one white blood cell is responsible for maintaining my healing. Somebody else is their own white cell. If they think that they are going to need to be responsive to somebody else's sickness, then they're going to move and give up their energy. So what my ancestors did, what any other being in manifestation in this realm did, while it may have an effect on me, I have to have a greater effect by honoring my stillness. So I can't heal nobody else's trauma. I cannot fix nobody else's curses. That is a trick of my mind telling me I can do that. And then that's already an overinvestment of my energy into somebody else's experience. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't need to fix what my ancestors did. That is their responsibility once they hit transition point from this realm to whatever perceived realm is next, to make penance. See, people always talk about the Anubis function. You're going to meet Mayat, or you're going to meet the Book of the Dead and all this other stuff. Judgment Day. If I made it to Judgment Day to weigh my heart and I made it to the next realm, what the fuck am I healing? What am I healing? It is only the trauma that the next person perceives to already still be here that they keep reaching for. Now, yes, is there going to be cyclic patterns that come up through, say, DNA coercion and corruption? And science has been doing this for years. Science has been taking trauma from one rat and transferring it to its generational descendants through tampering. That's real science. But if that rat would learn to take responsibility for its energy, if these human rats would learn to take responsibility for their energy, they're less responsive to the traumas, instead of trying to stay out of the trauma by making sure they don't get triggered. Because overexposure through the perception, I got a different view of time. Time is, this is my energy. The perception of saying I've done this for eons and centuries and all that other stuff only compounds my own energy. But the reality of it is the direct exposure of everything that is in this current now. Your social media, your mass media, your political diet, your physical diet, your financial diet. This whole paradigm is set up off of lack. Then it already stresses your mental memory. You know what I'm saying? If everything here is already telling you that you don't have enough, even though, wait a minute, within me, I know it's enough, but everything around me keeps showing me that I need more. And then you get tired of fighting that, no, I am enough. That to me is why some Tibetan monks go lock themselves in a monastery, or monks, because they separate themselves from the physical externalized traumas here and learn how to isolate. But I always speak down on that. No disrespect to anybody, but my thing is you better learn how to heal in the sickness so that the sickness goes away. You stay right here and you realize, no, that lack that they tried to talk me or teach me, it's not real. It's a real condition, but it's not my reality.
Gotcha.
So let me separate my necessity for what they want me to have and start honoring what I already am. And then that lets me maintain my energy. What I said earlier was, the battery in the pack is much stronger than one that keeps plugging in, because the battery already is at 100%. Once that battery gets put into the device, it is not only divided, it is already met death. It is just waiting to expend all its energy. We're not going to meet death if we quit plugging into all this shit. If everybody would say, you know what, tired of doing the same thing, tired of trusting the same people who always fail us, let's try something new, there'll be a drastic shift. But we get lied to. There's a consciousness shift that happened in May. But by the way, vote in June, because the same people who have already tried to kill you last week need another 4 years to do it.
Yep.
So you say you want the healing, the glamorization of change, and then you do everything else to verify that you're still stuck in the same.
Yep, exactly.
So we are in 5D, still operating out of 2D, 3D. So you just become more usable.
Yeah. Whew.
So there cannot be any healing because you have not told yourself, you have not first diagnosed your sickness. You're just trying to find the safest place for your pain.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If your pain, like I said a minute ago, if your pain is safe with you, you're always in danger. And a lot of people out here is, I know my hood. I done learned to survive here. Well, why don't you leave there if it put you through so much? I can't leave here because this is where I know I'm at. But wait a minute, that was a place of pain and turmoil. You don't understand. You're right, sir. You can't help somebody who don't know that they need help.
Right.
You can only make sure that their sickness does not become your own. And people will call that selfish. People will call that arrogance. No, it is just fucking energetic smartness. I have to be aware of me before I find out what I need to know about you. Because if I don't have awareness of me, I'm going to get lost in everything that you teach me from experience. And that's how traumas get transported, is because you keep having experience with others. I'm having the experience with myself. What's my hashtag? I'm too busy being motherfucking delicious. I'm being me, and then I choose everything else that bears my fucking reciprocal reflection. And in that experience, it's going to show me whether there was still some sickness within myself, or if I was really operating out of my wholeness.
Gotcha, man. I knew this was going to be a real profound conversation, man. This is deep, man. This is real deep. So I want to go back to something that you touched upon. You talked about how people are creating the illusion of this big change, and then they say, "Come and vote," or we need you to keep doing the same thing you've been doing, but change is coming. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about lately is how, in order to keep the system going, there's always controlled opposition. And I was thinking about the hippie counterculture love movement, and how I don't think it was real. I don't think it was real, because if you think about it, at the core of it, there were two things: sexual liberation and LSD. LSD came from the United States government. One of the first people to get LSD was Whitey Bulger and George Clinton. And then on top of that, you had the fact that the free love movement was something that was kind of funded by the Rothschilds, by a dude named Alfred Kinsey. He's the reason why we have sex ed in school, and he was a sexual deviant and a pedophile who kind of pushed the culture closer and closer and closer to acceptance of pedophilia. He's the guy who was behind or the inspiration for Hugh Hefner. Do you feel that we're in the midst of, once again, some kind of mass quote unquote woke movement that's just controlled opposition?
Yep. So then you aware that one of them Rothschilds was Martin Luther King's advisor, right?
Oh no! You just blew my head with that one. I didn't know that.
Oops, sorry. We might get this. They own the corporations. They might shut it down. But a lot of his advice, go back and see who did his eulogy and stuff like that.
Okay.
A lot of his advisements on how to conduct civil rights was by the same people who only wanted to streamline it for their benefit.
Wow.
The same thing goes on in spiritual systems. And again, it's not always that they send a quote unquote white person into a black environment. You just have to find somebody else. Same thing with say Black Panther Party and Kwanzaa, developed by a black man on the behalf of the federal government. All you gotta do is find somebody willing to give them, or give us, I should say, what they want us to have, and then we eat it up. But again, the core responsibility on what you eat has to be on the individual. See, they can keep all this controlled opposition. I agree with you, LSD and all that other stuff. It had an effect that they didn't intend. They thought it was just going to make us go la, 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 when actually it opened up some people's mentality to the possibilities of more. But of course, I don't know if you ever seen me post about the Sufi water folktale.
Oh, no.
with the Sufi water folktale, it was this one prophet, I think his name was Kadir. He got a message saying, hey, there's going to be a major event, bottle up the water, because in a few days, the water will be tainted and it'll drive everybody crazy. He bottled up his water, and sure as shit, the event happened, everybody drank the water and start talking crazy. So now he seemed crazy. He got so lonely within himself that he stopped drinking his own water and went and drunk it too, because he was so different from everybody else. It's the same thing. And this, everybody just wants to fit in. So then when you start speaking from points of sanity, which could actually free you, those who don't know they sick will label you as insane. So some of them first people who was on the LSD and on all these shrooms and trippy drugs, it was like, yo, man, this is a whole nother fucking experience here. Oh, he's high. He's an addict. like the demonization of weed because the hemp was going to kill the paper industry, the tree industry. So they've always had positions of power and control, your Carnegies, your Rockefellers, and all this other people. So whenever they see somebody like a Tesla or William Wright step out, then they will do anything within their power, which is immense, to make you either seem crazy or put a bullet in your head and call it fucking suicide. So the controlled opposition of the Flower Child movement, the Black Panther Party, the war against drugs, which was supposed to be more detrimental to us, but when it got discovered, what they do? Backpedal and try to point the finger at a few, but still didn't do anything to clean up their mess.
Right.
Because see, at that point, it was like, ain't nobody gonna do anything. Ain't nobody gonna do anything to stop us. They'll only find another excuse to be mad at us, but still love us the same.
Yeah.
It is. I understand at this point in my journey, I'm a slave. I just want the better master. That is the equivalent. Move me from plantation A to plantation B and just don't beat me on Wednesday. And I'll do what you say.
Yeah.
That hurts people's feelings, but it's really, that's where we're at. We are trying to figure out who's the better master because we don't want to free ourselves. We make condonements for everything they present us, everything. We ain't gonna even talk about that corona bullshit. We ain't gonna talk about how, whether it was fake or real, they infringed and infringed on basic human rights to make a choice about your own healing because they needed blanket control over everybody, and people were out here fighting for a master. You need to make us stay in the house. You need to make us wear a mask. Never mind that you're never sick. You need to. Fear.
Yep.
Fear runs this realm.
Yeah.
So if you can make the person who already has a direct response to fear afraid, they'll police themselves. It's the sheep are really watching the sheep nowadays.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
The wolf just sitting at the table like this. Hey, sheep, bring me 3 more.
Yep.
And we'll do it. And it transfers out into, again, like you said, your black woman versus black man, your white man versus black man, your rich versus poor. Because even some of these rich people are just as much a pawn as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, whether you're rich or poor, your core response is based out of fear. Either you don't have enough or you got too much and you're scared to lose it.
Have you ever had any experience like that where you tried to reveal some truth and you were labeled as insane or outsider or alienated?
Daily. And what I post on, and Instagram has me like on 95% suppression. So you probably don't even see me on there that much no more because
I barely even see you.
They got me in permanent algorithm because I posted a piece of art that had a foot coming out of the head. Mm-hmm. But it was sexual in nature. So due to repeat offenses, you are permanently under low visibility. And basically, and same thing on Facebook. I had a picture of 2 fingers with honey on it, and it said it was sexual in nature.
Crazy.
But yet there's ass and titty popping on there right now if I was to scroll over.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, not even, the algorithm and shadow ban limits you. The amount of people they allow you to be exposed to becomes limited. And then when people don't understand my perspective, because it's not my truth, it's just my experience. And that's one thing you'll hear me saying that scares a lot of people. I'm not telling you the truth. I'm telling you my experience based off of my perspective. Mm-hmm. What's true for me might not be true for you, but you need to know why you believe in what you believe in. And a lot of people get lost in that. I'm secure what I'm in, but I wonder why I'm depressed on Monday. And so, yeah, I get labeled because I tell people, you're going to be responsible if you deal with me. Because everything in your life is the result of a choice. If you get hit in the back of the head with a damn ball, you may not have caused that event, but what happens next is your choice. Right. And if you can't start taking responsibility for your movements, you're going to forever be on the chessboard. So I get called crazy all the time. I don't understand what he's talking about. I can't make you understand. All I can do is leave out a trail of what I am going through so I can not only double check myself, but anybody else who can gravitate towards that level of exposure. Notice I didn't say light. Who can gravitate towards that level of exposure might want to become exposed too. But you got people out here who are looking for the light, and you got burnt people out here who are looking for the dark because they think they need revenge. Those are still systems of duality.
Mm-hmm.
You got hurt people out here trying to get into spirituality to mask their hurt. And that's the doorway to hypersexuality. That's why this probably pissed some people off. That's why you have a lot of hypersexualized lesbians and hypersexualized gay men, to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they have had trauma.
Here comes the controversy.
they've had traumas in their experiences, and instead of saying, you know what, this was that experience and let me learn to heal from it, it's just safer to go over here to the whole other side and play. Not all lesbians are lesbian. It's just safer than them to have an experience with another man. Not all men are gay. It is safer than them to keep on getting into women that break them. Now, there are authentic people who that is their energy signature.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say to them motherfuckers all day, I don't give a fuck about none of them, to be honest with you. Everybody do what works for you. That's my thing. Do what works for you and be judged by you. Because I'm too busy being delicious for me, and I want deliciousness for everybody else. So it's not that I'm homophobic or anything like that. I'm just smart enough to see that some of these women who are hypersexual, bisexual, they're carrying the traumas around on their sleeves, and that's on male and female side of the house. It's just more evident in the female energy signature because they're the more expressive form of energy. And that's why you'll hear me say we're not in the divine feminine. This is the divine masculine wounded. We are trying to heal from the traumas we occurred from choices and results of experiences. That's not the divine feminine. Divine feminine is pure creation, not pure trauma.
Right.
So
right.
A lot of these people, if they would stop to fix themselves and then make choices on how they operate, it'd be a lot of empty seats on both sides of the table.
Very true. Let me ask this question, because you just said that we're not in the divine feminine, not in the divine masculine. I think that one of the saddest things about the culture is the fact that people who are traumatized are typically put on a pedestal in our culture. Like the most dysfunctional people have become the representatives of what it is to be feminine, or the representatives of what it is to be masculine. I mean, is that just something I'm noticing, or do you notice that as well?
It's still like I was saying about how you will seek to get the approval of your master. Those people are representations of the trauma itself. So the trauma core response within yourself is to glamorize anything that looks like what puts you in danger. It's why people like to be choked. Sexually, people like to get choked because it's a fear. Mm-hmm. So the trauma response that you get from being choked in a sexual environment releases those level of endorphins that you relate to pleasure. Because for so long, ancestrally or even oppressively in the whole energetic signature, we feel like we're choked. We feel like we get choked daily by bills and having to work and kids and school and all this other stuff. So when you get that same level of release in the sexual environment, it's a feel good because it's a counterbalance to where you've always felt bad with that same energy. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people are just, I don't know what people are right now. I don't even know. I mean, like I said, I see so many things in people. And to be honest and fair, it may just be a reflection of the traumas that I'm still fixing and facing within myself. But what I do see is that so many people are being led by people that look like what they don't want to see, that they don't realize it. It's why people, 50 Cent can make a post about a piece of shit in the toilet. Within 1 hour, he gonna have about 5 million likes. I could post, hi, I had a self-discovery today, and here's a new technique to help you get rid of trauma. 2 weeks later, I got 3 likes.
Right.
And it's not that I care about that, but it's like, holy shit, how can you want to follow somebody who is clearly toxic? And it's no disrespect to 50 Cent. I mean, just use him as an example. How can you follow toxic celebrity glorification of everything that you are really angry at, and then somebody who might be possibly giving you a key to sit down and find you? I ain't got time for that.
Right.
And it's a trauma response. We are led by what looks traumatic. That's why people won't ever get rid of government. Because government is such a trauma. Government has done its job. It has governed your ability to be free, that you now seek freedom from what's designed to contain you.
That's deep, man. Damn. That's real deep. That's true. That's true as hell.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but you can't tell the average that no, their first response is it's always been this way. It's always been this way because that's what the system was designed to do, keep you always this way.
Yeah, yeah.
You could point out the electoral college. Hi, right here it says the electoral college was formed because the two-party system says that between these two parties, the average American is not smart enough to choose for themselves.
Exactly.
And you can show them where that's written right there, and they'll still say, but we still have to vote.
Yep,
And then
yep.
here's the problem. You get Stephen Fetcher, the black community. I'm gonna throw somebody in a bus. Your Ricky Smileys and your Steve Harveys. It's so important that we go out here and vote. But yet, even though they are affected by it, they're in a higher position, not only financially, but they should be, with the amount of resources they have on hand, they should be in a position to gain better awareness about what they're spitting. But because they are a part of the system, it is safer for them to spit the rhetoric that keeps them safe and keeps everybody else under subjugation.
Yeah.
So that's why you cannot support celebrities, because that's what they're there for, is for you to celebrate them, Roman Coliseum, and not learn to celebrate you. Because they'll only help you stay further enslaved. Yeah. You notice most of our celebrities, even like say with B.O.B., when he tried to come out and he started speaking, what was the first thing everybody said? Oh, he been cloned. When he first started, having his little awareness, he started speaking. But then even in saying that he started speaking awareness, it was still rabbit hole bullshit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that conspiracy theory is a term, is a coined term by the CIA. So you have to understand that just like with the internet used to be Milnet and ARPANET, it was a military application in base. It's always going to have some levels of control to it. So the information you get on this information highway ain't always authentic. And it's not always designed to set you free. Mm-hmm. All these rabbit hole theories that they have out here ain't designed to set you free. Some of them are designed to get you caught in them because rabbits poop in their holes all day long. You just getting shitted on. Mm-hmm. You chasing shit. You chasing your QAnon and Anonymous and Nasara and Jasara and Trump gonna drain the swamp. Mm-hmm. We chase some of the dumbest shit, and we believe that the people who told you who they are or showed you the role they play don't have your benefit, but because you have bought into a timeline to where they might benefit you later, you have no benefit to yourself now.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is that people are digging for these conspiracy theories, but it's all right out in the open. Nobody's hiding anything anymore. They telling you directly to your face. They let you know exactly. They let you know exactly what they're doing, and they let you know up front. You can't stop them.
Yep, you can't stop them because you're too busy arguing amongst yourselves on what you need to be paying attention to. You ain't paying attention to us. You just looking at what we might be doing, but because you ain't ready to see what we're really doing, all we gotta do is sprinkle that we're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the puppet master. Remember a few years ago when they finally admitted that there is a shadow government that runs behind the American government. Mm-hmm. What we do?
Business as usual. Went back to sleep.
Right back to sleep. Everything that and on some levels, I'm still a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, coming out of Christianity and into learning things, you automatically become a conspiracy theorist. Holy shit, they've been working with aliens since 1934 and all this other stuff. You run into that stuff, and some of it's plausible from experience, and some of it is just straight, hey, even if it ain't true, leave that shit alone.
Right.
So they give you all these fantastic doors to get lost in, and it's your responsibility to find yourself in that door and know when to back out of that door.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times, I know one time I couldn't sleep one night, so I'm doing the conspiracy theory thing. I'm on the internet looking at all these videos and looking up like the Moorish Science Temple and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember I'm digging so deep, eventually I got to the point where I got to a page on YouTube where it was talking about Islamic Moors from outer space, and it showed a guy with the fez on, and he had on like alien eyes, and he was holding the Quran. I was like, okay, I'm too deep now. I mean, let me back up.
Yeah, kind of like the Nuwapians and all that shit. Yeah. Or like now how they've made the Anunnaki to be black and shit.
Yeah.
I know you saw
black now. Hebrews is from outer space now. I said, let me back up. Now I'm too deep.
Yeah, because like back in May, the Anunnaki was supposed to come back, and we was gonna wake up and be blue, and we was gonna be able to walk through walls and fly because we was getting a DNA upgrade. Because see, they've been watching what's been going on this planet, and now after all the oppression we done went through, now they done had enough. Them motherfuckers ain't no better than Jesus, if you ask me. If you watching me go through some shit, come on now. I don't know if you got kids. I got roughly 6, 8 to be honest, but
I got 2.
If I watch any one of them motherfuckers go through something and don't save them, who coming to get me? Yeah, Child Protective Services, right?
Damn police and everybody else.
Everybody else come to get me. So why is it not fine for me, a lowly level human, to not help my children, but a being of omnipotent power to sit back and watch you go through it all? And that's any pantheon. Why, if you are on such a magnitude of power, are you watching me go through an experience just to say I had the experience to be worthy of you? That's called fucking child abuse. Damn, you don't watch your children go through, and especially if you know what the end result gonna be.
Or create the situation.
No, don't you do that. Don't you do that. See, that's the devil. That's the Council of Toledo that made that devil. Oh, sorry, let me not say that. See, that's that devil that got created because once you realized that Sky Daddy was not going to take responsibility because you created him, you had to create somebody else to be the scapegoat. Yeah, hell, the devil don't even make his way through a lot of the fucking scriptures.
He's barely in the Bible.
He's an implant.
He's barely in it.
And the one time he really is in it, when Satan was wandering through the halls of heaven. Wait a minute, ain't this motherfucker been kicked out? Why are he up here talking to you about Job? Didn't you kick him out at the beginning?
Yeah, he showed up and was talking shit.
So it's like maybe God is the devil, or from my perspective, maybe it's all you. It's the irresponsibility of your choices. You want to glorify what works out, but you need to demonize what didn't.
I mean, it says in the book of Isaiah where God is talking, I think, and he says, I create the light and the dark. I create good and evil. So it's the same energy.
It's the same energy. And I've been teaching that for years, is that there is no good and evil. It's all perspective. Right now, the light is on. It's good for me. When I get ready to go to bed, that light's bad for me.
Now, that's an interesting statement. I want to go deeper into that one. You said there's no good and evil. Because to me, I kind of understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like there are certain things that seem evil to me. I mean, like hurting children, that's evil, right?
That's perspective, though. That's perspective. That's perspective of me. If somebody was to hurt a child, my perspective and level of experience is you should not do that. So for me, it's the categorization of evil. For the person that did it, if that's what gets their rocks off, it's good. It's perspective. It's not dry and cut. You cannot just label energy as one or the other, because somebody can use or abuse it based off of their will and attention. Energy is just a form of expression and in perspective in motion. It is what you do with it that will make the result. Same thing with voting. Do you have to vote for the 2 or 3 that they put out there, or can you now vote for you? Mm-hmm. The vote is good. The vote is bad. It's what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
But then if you only have a limited level of thinking, is I got to choose between pedophile A or pedophile B, you already about to get fucked.
So what if somebody use that same argument about God, though, and say, yeah, God didn't sit back and watch you suffer, like it's just your perspective?
It's just your perspective, but then that should become the point of awareness that God ain't for me. Because we get right back to the parent thing. If my perspective of God didn't do that, but he watched, he is now a being of acknowledgement. And if I'm of that little use and value to him to watch me go through just so I can say I suffered, that's an oppressor.
It's an oppressive God concept.
Yep. That's the demurge. That's the imperfect God.
Okay. All right. So you okay. So now you made the mistake of bringing Gnosticism into it. So now we got to analyze it from that perspective.
It's an imperfect process too. So, just like before you do that, let me ask you this, and then we'll go into Gnosticism a little bit. Okay. Again, I try to release myself from all this, but at what point did demonology become a real thing?
I'm not sure.
It didn't become a real thing until King James wrote that book. Going back into your animistic, more ancient forms, your African mystery schools and stuff like that, We didn't have demons. Now, over in Samaria and practices like that, they had troublesome spirits. But there was not no Gorersha, the 72 demons of hell, the hordes of hell, the fourth Duke of hell, all that other stuff. Those were European concepts that brought into manifestation because they were the dominant form of energy.
True.
Once they created, just like with Christianity, prior to Christianity being formed, you had Mithraism and Arianism, and then you had the alleged cult of the being now known as Jesus, as he was a mystic. But he was not Christianity or anything like that. He was just a person speaking his truth and causing problems for everybody else. The majority of the soldiers honored Mithras, and Mithras is a correlation and older format for Jesus. But once Christianity beat the fuck out of everybody else, and Constantine said either do it my way or die, then the credence for Jesus overrode everybody else's programming. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Almost to the point, not almost to the point, but to the point to where succeeding councils and creeds now wrote Jesus back into the beginning of time. Over a succession of councils and creeds, Jesus went from being the Son of Man to the Son of God to God in another form of manifestation. Mm-hmm. He was not always. That's why you talk to Christians and they be like, well, Jesus and God. Well, wait a minute, which one is it? They don't even know. They don't even know whether he's in separation or he's in unison. Mm-hmm. That's because he's a taught energy. So you can't just it's the same thing like I'm saying with the demonology. Now that the demonology became a format of belief through Christianity and the occults, which are only offshoots of Christianity. Mm-hmm. That most of the occult systems. That's why you in ceremonial magic, you need to know the capturing angel and the demon's name and number and its sigil. Those are all offshoots of energy already here, but now that oppressive European mind developed a system of manifestation for it. And now there's demons everywhere. There's mm-hmm. demons everywhere because they've been allowed thought energy in this realm. This is thoughts and manifestation, this whole realm. Whatever you believe in has the credence for being here, but not everything will be here. You might have seen me post before a picture of Jesus all muscular. Yeah. And I call that the first bank of Jesus. Jesus is a concept because he's a corrupted construct of things much older. We don't know the proper security code for Jesus. So it's just one big bank of stored energy through belief. Mm-hmm. Everybody waiting on Jesus to save us, but Jesus ain't Jesus because there was no J before 1600s. So you don't know his proper name. And because he's a constructed being based off of Dionysus, Mithras, and Horus, and everybody else, he's not authentic. Even if there was a man who walked around here and practiced that doctrine, he is not the same as this energy that people think gonna come save him. Mm-hmm. He got placed in the deification. Same way like in Ifa, most people say Shango was a real king, and then he got transcended over into Orisha. But through belief and subscription, you can pull on Shango's energy. But there is a more intimate, direct link to the authenticity of Shango, but there is clear trails of plagiarism mm-hmm. to the being known as Jesus. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So right. you can't pull from what ain't never really been there, but you can pull from what may have already been there that you now gave a new name. See, remember I said that there was no set form of demonology, but in demonology, they brought in older energies such as the Leviathan, your Lilith theories, a lot of other daemons from other cultures, and mm-hmm. then they compiled them into the Goetia. So some of these things were already here in other cultures, and then they compiled and compacted them. Gnosticism basically does the same thing. They take a perspective of, you know what, that Christian guy got some fucking issues. So here's my perspective of what the fuck is going on in him, and here's the doctrine to support it. He's the imperfect God, and he's just the antithesis to creation and things like that. It's still thought forms. Somebody's system of belief, and all it takes is for somebody else to believe it. Creation.
And it's interesting to me too how, you know, all of that information, all that information about Christianity, all these books. People look at the Bible and say the Bible is the unshakable, undoubtable truth, but there's so much to the story and so many perspectives from that era that were taken out and extracted. Now we're discovering more and more about that, but people still refuse to let go of their preconceived Christian notions. I mean, they got to accept the fact that Christianity was a malleable movement for a very long time. It didn't
And
so
still is.
it still is. Yeah, it's
Because
changing.
now they're accepting the homosexual LGBT ABCD communities and all this other stuff because they see that they can't get away from it, so they have to learn to conform
Right.
because it's struggling within themselves.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right. It's real interesting, but still, even while there, and this is a part of, I guess, like the delusion of belief, where even while it's changing around them, people still accept it as if it's a static theology. They
remember what I said about that core trauma of imprisonment, like how over the Christian kingdoms they would enslave you, beat you, or subject you to traumas. I mean, think about it with slaves. When they captured you, they would beat you, maim you, rape you, do all kind of stuff to demean you, so that you learned to fear them. When even when your new child is born, you teach them the fear that you have. You teach that fear to them. Don't you ever cross massa. So over again, compilate like you said earlier, compilation of exposure over centuries in time like that. You already know it's the 100 monkey theory. You familiar with that one where they put the 5 monkey theory? They put 5 monkeys in the
yep.
cave, yeah, and then they sprayed them with water every time they went to go get the banana,
Yep.
and then move one out, move a new one in. The other ones will beat the fuck out of the one that don't know what's going on because they don't want the results of what's going to happen.
Yep.
By the damn end of the week, none of the monkeys that had the experience of going for the banana knew anything about going for the banana. They just knew not to go for the banana.
Right.
So
right.
anybody else to come in, we gonna beat you too.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't see that. It's the same thing like I was saying with COVID. When people was realizing, hey, wait a minute, they said this last weekend. Here we are 2 weeks later, it didn't work. Well, don't you worry about it. Just keep doing what they say. Hey, guy. Hey, Karen, back up.
yeah.
The inmates are running the asylum, and the slaves are overseeing each other.
That COVID experiment. Yeah, that COVID experience was definitely proof positive that people have been perfectly indoctrinated.
Yeah. Cultural programming, societal programming, and struggle mentality. And struggle mentality is a long time thing. We've been being subjected to struggle basically before the Roman Empire. The Persians and all them other people, any level of history where one empire decided to overtake more than their share left a core taint. Hell, what was it? Genghis Khan. What did it say? He raped 10% basically 10% of the planet is DNA linked to him because he caused so much havoc.
Jeez.
It may not be 10, but I know there's
any big ass number.
Any person who has at least 1% of the whole planet as DNA linked because you raped that many people. I don't care if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. If you got a real percentage, you's a dirty motherfucker.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
That's an oppressive amount of energy, but the lasting effect of what those energies went through in order for him to make himself feel safe automatically put those other people in danger.
Yeah.
Everything on this planet operates out of a sense of fear. Am I safe or am I in danger? The government needs to feel safe by keeping us in danger. That's why they give us the false flags. That's why they give us these viral events or these events of division, and then they come in and pat you on the head. Like, we'll give you a stimulus, or you know what? Yeah, gas don't need to be $4 a gallon, but we'll drop it back down to $3.90. You okay? You okay? All right, feel good. I mean, we find with gas being $3 and something, we find what something I saw last week, not to be too much off a topic, but the big 3 grocery stores made $240 million profit this year. But yet food's supposed to be that much higher, and they're supposed to have that much more cost to where they need to raise. Because I don't know about you, but I can't go in the damn grocery store with $200 and not really get anything now.
Yeah. I go to the grocery store, like I seem like I spend like more like at least $300 a week on groceries now. Insane. And I'm constantly going back because I'm like, we don't have nothing. I just came from the store. We ain't got nothing.
So, my point. So why are they making so much profit if it's supposed to be because they are losing money because it's costing more for them to get the food, and which is why they have to justify raising our price? That should have been a balance.
Yeah.
But it seems like it costs less for them because we're paying more, and now they're splitting the best profit ever.
Yeah.
But you have a government that's supposed to be watching for that, but it's like, hey, you guys will be okay. You figured that one out on your own. It's not what you saw. It's a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. Yep.
We pay for our own oppression. Religiously, physically, socially, spiritually, financially, and mentally. Because I know you watched some people unravel this month.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then they tell you, oh, October is mental awareness month. Because by October, they put you through so much, you have no choice but to break, because it's supposed to be a point of sitting down and reassessing yourself. Two numbers pretending to be one. I need to see what I'm doing and what else is fooling me. But no, you just have to keep going and get to the end of the year. We don't know how to keep still. And the best way to keep somebody pulled apart is to never give them stillness.
True.
But you can't teach it.
Do you think that, going back to what you're saying about mental health awareness month in October, do you think Halloween got something to do with that as well? You know, people say on Halloween the energy changes and the spirits are loose and all that kind of stuff. Do you believe that is having a direct effect on people's minds as well?
On some levels, yes, but again, I say for the responsible being, no, because that perception that we have always given to the veil thins around these dates has been proven that through at least the last 4 or 5 years is not necessarily a true concept. Whether you want to call that a consciousness shift, whether you want to call that a timeline shift, the events over the last 4 years have shown you that, holy shit, there ain't no veil. What's been going on in 1 month is the same shit going on in the next month.
Yep.
It is only if I trick myself into believing that now is that time. It's what you say, what you hear me say all the time about stop waiting for planetary alignments and full moons and new moons to do your work. Do that shit daily. And then these perception of all these veils and stuff starts to fall apart. So while yes, October by tradition is when spirits do their walk into the afterlife or their walk back to come visit, and that's by Kemetic theories and Celtic and all the others. I mean that basically occurs in everything. It's not just and I posted about that early this morning. It's not just a tradition in European. It's something much older. Medics would set out candles and trinkets as a way to help them navigate the obstacles. Basically, by the Book of the Dead, there's whole things in there to tell you how you can help your loved ones cross over to the afterlife. And some of the stuff was setting out trinkets and tools to assist them. It just got put into, I guess, a more direct format through European traditions, and now it got compartmentalized into Halloween and stuff. Just like Thanksgiving was traditionally Thanksgiving until I can't remember which president it was, Eisenhower, I think, moved it to where it's at.
Okay.
But it was more in correlation to Mabon and turn the wheel, your cornucopia type events.
Okay.
So we move things to make us feel better. And in saying that we spiritually connect to that, because that's when people look for that event, that is when that event manifests. Because your thoughts are paying more attention to your loved ones, to that process right there. And here's what people get fucked up is they don't understand the process of death, so they think death is a loss. That's why you'll see people, and you'll see it from this week and the next week. Man, my mama been gone for 35 years. Y'all pray for me today. It's hard, y'all. Motherfucker, it's been 35 years. One, if you ain't learned to have an ancestral connection to her, shame on you. For two, when the fuck are you gonna get over it? But that's me being an asshole. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My dad's been gone for 49 years. My mom's been gone for almost 18 years. Even before I understood my ancestral connection where I can sit here and have a conversation with them right now, even before that, it was death is one of the things of this realm. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You have to make sure that you live and let them live on in your memory. Even for learning ancestral ways. They're not gone. They're just a part of me that's no longer here in this realm. But it does not mean that they're not here altogether. You got people who so stuck on Christianity that taught them about death, and death is the end, and the dead don't speak. The only one that speaks is Jesus and shit like that. that you don't do nothing but keep yourself in depression every time you get around this time and around that time where the spirit actually passed. So then it becomes a real usable energy. Depression is a real usable energy, just like sex is a real usable energy. If you have a bunch of people in depression, that shit creates a cloud, a psychokinetic effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you have too many people who are in hypersexuality, it creates a cloud. It's a hypersexuality effect. And now you can go to a fucking club and holy shit, all you smell is fucking pheromones. Because the sexuality is presenting a cloud of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Depression does the same thing. So if they tell you when you're supposed to be depressed, not only by fall, the season when your energy falls, leading into the winter, the time of dead itself, because your mind is in regression during that transition between fall and winter. So yeah, you're supposed to be more mindful of your energy, but if your mind is only filled on what they want on what you to see, or what you traditionally keep holding on to, you fucked.
Now, going back to what you were talking about about death, I wanted to kind of get you to zero in on that a little bit. According to your experience, what is death, and how should somebody make the ancestral connection?
Death is a transition. It is losing this level of existence for the ability to become more, not less, but to the ability to become more. If you are so inclined to ancestral veneration, then you should now understand that being that your ancestor has transitioned, they are still interconnected to you, but they now have a higher field of awareness, which means that through that connection to you, they can now guide you more efficiently because they now have exposure to what's not seen by this lower dimensional that we're caught in within this meat suit. So if you can understand that, not only should you venerate them through just by sitting here speaking of them. You seen that movie Coco?
Yep, I just watched it. Matter of fact, I just saw it yesterday.
Speak on them. It ain't. I get it. It's a beautiful thing when you build an altar and you set out the water, you set out the candles, and you cook the food. They like that. Don't get me wrong. But is it totally necessary? No. It's just an increase in focal point. Here is the energy.
Mm-hmm.
You sitting there and paying attention to them, remembering them, just remembering them. If you had a friend that passed and you just remember them, something about that friend gonna come up, whether it's a song, whether you're gonna feel a nudge, and this is just a friend. So while that still can be considered an ancestral energy, somebody who is quote unquote DNA linked to you, when you speak on their energy and you pull on their memories, they're gonna come. If they are so inclined to come, if they are really honoring that level of existence as an ancestor, they're going to come through. Mm-hmm. It is just up to you, the user, to learn how to ascertain what you're hearing or feeling. But we so called on mama died and I just need you now, Jesus. No, have a talk with your mama. Have a talk with your mama and might get some insight on what she's seeing. Because in my experience, I ran into a lot of ancestors who ain't see what they want to see when they transition. I've had some of them tell me, "Oh Lord, you a demon," and it's like, yeah, but no, but you want to come and see what's going on? I'm gonna sit right here. There are some spirits who are still post-traumatic life syndrome, still stuck, waiting to see Jesus.
Wow, that's heavy.
That is my experience. There are some of them who still and wait to see, and there are others who is, you know what, I can go anywhere I want to, even to the point to where I can find myself in alignment with the energy that Jesus had. I didn't say find Jesus, but I can find myself in alignment with the things that he taught.
Right.
And that should be your goal anyway. You shouldn't want to find the person. You should find what the person had to present and teach. But no. So, I mean, again, with veneration, setting out a vessel of water, setting out the foods that they liked and loved, setting a candle out, setting their pictures out, and just sitting and listening or directly talking. Man, mm-hmm. I remember that one time Big Mama beat me, and you're laughing. You're not sitting there crying. I remember that one time Big Mama beat me, and I hate her. No, but that one time Big Mama beat me because I was doing some stupid shit, and you bust out a laugh, and next thing you know, you hear a little laugh in your corner too. That's because that's a shared point of connection. But it scares people. See, you can reach out to somebody who you can verify was here and hear them, and you'll run away. Or you can reach out for somebody who you never met, and you get mad when you don't hear them.
Yeah. Now, let me ask this question. Quite often, if you're reaching out to the ancestors and they communicate, let's say they don't communicate with words. Let's say you don't get the vision that you had when you were young. How will somebody know the ancestors are responding? How can it? Is there? How can you translate how the ancestors choose to communicate?
It's going to be a discernment thing, but you have to make sure that you don't fall into hyper generalization.
Okay.
Meaning that, well, there was a caterpillar that crawled by me. That's grandma. And to be fair and honest, because in the ancestral side, we always say red birds, cardinals are ancestral messengers. In a lot of cases, especially if you've been working and talking about them and you just see a bunch of them pop up or one that just keep following your card, then yeah, you gotta take the resonance. It's the same thing with angel numbers and stuff like that. Not every time you see it is going to be correlated to what you got going on. Sometimes that number is just there.
Right.
So in ancestral veneration, if you just sitting there and you say something and you clearly hear something in your head and you know it wasn't, quote unquote, you, and that wasn't something that you would normally say, take that shit for what it is. Where people fuck up at is then they hear something and they try and translate it as what they want to make sense of.
Mm-hmm.
And knowledge does what? Knowledge gets you fucked up because you now just changed the message from what it was into what you needed it to be.
Right.
That's how you'll see some people out here talking about my ancestors will fuck you up. No, because you out here being messy and then your ancestors are giving you guidance of baby, put that down, but all you wanted to hear was pick it up.
Yeah.
So you were being guided by your traumas and not your ancestors. And the converse, somebody who is scared to hear their ancestors will dismiss every fucking thing. Hey, I asked a question, and next thing you know, pillow just fall off the couch. That shit happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Pillow fall off the couch. Something in the kitchen just fall. I just got through asking for some guidance and wondering if somebody hearing this shit falling all off the wall. But I'm like, oh no, that didn't happen. You dismiss your own experience.
Right.
So you have to be ready to receive the answers that you sought and not be scared of what you hear or see.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it comes with I can't say time. It comes with experience. It comes with experience, but you have to make sure that you are not shitting yourself and making everything into an answer from the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
I pooped my pants. That means the ancestors mad at me. No, that just means you was a shitty motherfucker. Sorry.
Oh man. Oh man. Listen, man. I'm about to wrap up now, but I appreciate your time, man. And I knew this was going to be a real profound conversation, and you did not disappoint. You touched on a lot of stuff, man, and blew my mind with a lot of the information. I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time.
Hey, anytime, man. I enjoyed this, and I don't, like I said, I used to have my podcast, The Oracle, on the Wake Up Radio, but I stopped doing it during COVID and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I just went further back into me. But I'm always honored to do this. The only thing I ask is that people be responsible to themselves and less responsive to what they think everybody else got going on. If we don't slow down, again, not trying to be a psychic or a predictor or anything, next year ain't gonna be pretty. Next year, by the numbers, which is my thing, which we need to touch on, by the numbers, next year is all about you. It's a 7 year. 7 is your self-awareness. If all you know is what you've been through, you haven't met you yet. So slow the fuck down, everybody.
Yeah. Good advice. And that's Jeff. Actually, that's something I'm trying to do myself. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm trying to teach myself how to be still because I'm so used to just pushing. And I've had some health issues lately. And I'm trying to train myself to sit down, which is hard for me. So I'm glad you said that. That's amazing you said that at that moment.
Well, the word of caution I have for you is that you can't really teach it because that's a form of mastery, which means there's always going to be a struggle. Only thing you can do is be aware of where you keep giving your energy and take the responsibility for why. See, that didn't require no teaching. That's for me to learn. Right. When we go into systems of teaching, that is still more points of creation because you're trying to expand. In contraction, I am pulling my contracts off the table. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to keep doing the same stuff that's got my health in question and things like that. I'm going to be more responsible for why it's better for me to just sit still, not why I got to keep moving. Contrarianism.
Well, thank you, my brother. Once again, thank you for your time. And yeah, you're gonna see me on Instagram. I'm gonna throw this interview up on YouTube. Matter of fact, as soon as we done, I'm post it up on YouTube and send you the link.
Yeah, I'm finna say, if you don't mind, I'm gonna post it on my YouTube page too.
All right, no doubt, absolutely.
Cool. I appreciate it, man.
All right, my brother, peace, man.
Peace.